الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا ونور قلوبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نوينا التعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. We're continuing with our book, Maraam. Can I share the screen, Amira? Allow me to share screen. Okay, I'm the host. Okay, tamam. Okay, we're continuing. Actually, I want to finish off the story from Haddad. Then we get into the book itself. Because then the last part of the, of this introduction to Imam al-Haddad, actually covers, okay, actually covers the death, right, of Imam al-Haddad. So I actually want to cover that in detail. Right, so he says here, about the death of Imam al-Haddad منذ عشية يوم الخميس, is from the night of day of Thursday, 27 من شهر رمضان, 27th night of Ramadan, سنة 1032 أو 1132. حصل الإمام الحداد بعد الألم وكان ذلك يعاوده فلم يستطيع بسببه الخروج للصلوات والدروس كما كان دأبه. I saw on the night of Friday, like in the 27th night of Ramadan, Imam al-Haddad, he sensed some pain. And Imam al-Haddad, mashallah, his threshold of pain, of illness is very high. It was said that he went through 40 years of very high fever, Imam al-Haddad. So his threshold is very high with not a word of complaint. Imam al-Haddad was once his student, Habib Zain, Habib Zain al-Habshi, was stung by a scorpion. And Habib Ahmad bin Zain, being stung by a scorpion, he let out like a shout, right, because he was stung. And Imam al-Haddad just turned to him and said to him, how little your patience, and how little your patience, like it's a small thing and you let out a shout, and Habib Ahmad bin Zain said, yeah, Imam, I was stung by a scorpion. And Imam said, come, touch my finger. And Habib bin Zayn touched the finger of Al-Haddad and it was to teach him a lesson. And he felt the finger was burning hot. And he said, Imam, you have a fever. And Imam Al-Haddad says, yes, I have a fever. And I have had this fever for 40 years. Right? And not even my wife knows how long I've had this fever. Right? So, subhanAllah, like they don't complain about anything. They don't complain about anything. Subhanallah. So Imam Al-Haddad, his threshold of pain and of illness is actually very high. But at this point in time, it was so bad that he could not go out to pray nor teach as his norm. ولكن صار خروجه منقطعا. Like then it became like sparse. His living in the house became sparse. He was unable to leave his house. Similar to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam towards the end of his life. Like they became very sick and they could not leave their houses. And that the sickness of the awliya, the illness of the awliya, they come from in two reasons. Similar to that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? For the awliya, like the sickness, first and foremost, is to raise their level even higher, right? Even higher, to cleanse them completely of any form of deficiency for the awliya, but also as a mercy to those who are around them. So for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his illness was actually a mercy for the ummah, to prepare the ummah to physically lose the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba, because it was the greatest calamity to afflict the Sahaba. Like so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had, in giving Rasulullah an illness, it was to prepare them, and to prepare them for the worst, right? So it's not like that, like Rasulullah was taken away from them all of a sudden, with no preparation. No. But there was an illness that happened first. يعني وكلما أحس بشيء من العافية والقوة خرج إلى أن صار لا يتمكن من الخروج بتة. Right? So Imam al-Hada, every time he felt some form of health, energy, strength, he would leave the house and he would go and do his da'wah. And this is the way of the awliya, of the righteous. The moment they can leave the house and do da'wah, they leave the house and do da'wah. The moment that they can do it, right? And they'll force themselves. Imam al-Haddad, when he had very high fever, his fever was so high to the point whereby if he were to put on 40 blankets, he could feel the heat of his fever above the 40 blankets. But even then, like he would still make himself get up and pray Qiyamul Layl. And he would pray through the night, Imam al-Haddad, mashallah. Right, so but his this time around his sickness was so bad that he to the point whereby he could not leave his house again. So he came to the point whereby he was unable to leave at all. وفي ثاني من ذي القعدة دخل عليه أشجار فوجد بدنه ووجهه لا لحم فيه بل جلدان على العظم. Right, so on the second day of the Qa'dah, when Shajjar came into the business of Imam al-Haddad, they found that he was all skin and bones with no flesh. I mentioned that yesterday, right? Imam al-Hada, he passed away, skin and bones. Right? He had no flesh on his body at all. They found on his body, on his face, he was just skin and bones with no flesh. And that was because of the dua that he made earlier on. وكان الحبيب قد قال لولده. So Imam al-Hadad used to say to his son Hassan, قبل 20 سنة أشتهي أني يوم أموت ولا في جسمي قزعا لحمة. Right, so قزعة لحمة. Right, so he said that from 20 years ago, I had a desire that the day whereby I die, there is not even a shred of of flesh on my body. Right, there was because he didn't want to take any form of dunya with him, and didn't want to take any form of shubahat. He was so fearful of shubahat, of things that were even doubtful, that he wanted to have his body to have the minimum possible for his body, which was skin and bones and no flesh on his body. وكان مرضه كثيرا. ما يذكر حديث كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. وكان في آخر مرضه يقول يا محمد يا أحمد. Right, so Imam al-Hayat was the end of his life. He would always repeat over and over again the hadith كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن. Right, two words that are light on the tongue, is heavy on the scales, and beloved to the most merciful. Subhanallah bihamdi, Subhanallahil azim. And the last thing that he said was Ya Muhammad, Ya Ahmad. And he passed away. وفي يوم أربعاء في يوم أربعين عفوا أربعين من مرضه, on the 40th day of his illness. ولما بلغ من عمره وثمانين. So he was 88 years old سنة وتسعة أشهر with 9 months إلا 3 أيام now minus 3 days في ليلة الثلاثاء سابع ذي القعدة the 7th of ذي القعدة في من سنة 1132 انتقل الإمام الحداد إلى دار الآخرة وببيته الذي بحاوي. ودفن بمقبرة زنبل بتريم رحمه الله تعالى رحمة الأبرار. وأسكنه فسيح جناته ونفعنا به وبعلومه في الدارين آمين يا رب العالمين. So he passed away on the 7th of Zulqa'dah, when he was 88 years old in his own home. So if you go and visit the house of Imam al-Haddad here in Tarim in Hawi, that you will, Hawi is a neighborhood in Tarim. It's near my university actually. My university is near Hawi. So you'll find that in his home itself, there are places whereby they will mark, here was where the body of Imam al-Haddad was washed, here was where it was sprayed upon, and so on and so forth. Now, so now actually the tarjama ends here. I'm not sure why they typed the whole thing all together. This should be a different page. Right, so my book is a different page, right? So Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, this book Nil Maram, it actually goes into a discussion. So as mentioned, it's a higher text. Okay, it's a higher text, like you're taking basic aqidah by taking aqidatul Islam. So by taking aqidatul awam. I said aqidatul mujmala, aqidatul awam, you've taken from before, right? So Naam. So this text itself, right? Nil Maram, Islam is a bit of a higher text. So I want to explain certain things, especially in the beginning, that is very important for us to understand. So here is actually a new chapter. I don't know why they typed it right below. In my book, it's a new page. It's a new page with a heading, like Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. To understand who are the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I heard your questions, Atiqah, before I came in. I usually come in a few minutes before my time. And I had some of your questions. You need to understand, subhanAllah, a lot of people in our zaman, right, they have no clue what they're following, honestly, because of not studying. Right? So because they have, so many people in our zaman right now, right, they are not studying the religion. They are not studying religion. They have actually no clue what they're doing and what they're following. So I heard the question about, people who say they have no madhab. People, they have no clue what they're saying. Most people have no clue what they're saying. They have no idea what in the world they're following, what is a madhab, what entitles a madhab. What they do is they go around hearing stuff from the internet and they're parroting it. And that's a calamity. It's a calamity that they're speaking with no knowledge, just copying people online. And that's a calamity because it's your religion, for goodness sake. Subhanallah. Right. And also I said the question about the chicken, those who go around eating all the chicken that they find. Again, no knowledge whatsoever. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. But this is a calamity of it all. So even when it comes, and I get a lot of those questions, people who they're so confused of what's going on out online. Some people say you can go maulid, some people say you can go maulid, some people say you can do tahleel, some people say you can't do that, some people say this, and they say that, and they say all kinds of things, right? You need to understand there are different schools of thought in Islam. There are different schools of thought in Islam. A lot of people think it's only one school of thought. No, it's supposed to be, but it's not. Shaitan has played his game, and he has, and the first thing Shaitan does is cause disunity, because with disunity comes weakness. So Shaitan is his number one game, right, to cause disunity amongst the Muslims, right? So people don't realize that, first and foremost, there are many sects in Islam, many. There are many different ideologies, opinions, and ways right now, and even worse in our zaman. A lot of the ways are corrupted. They're not even based on anything in the religion. They're just corrupted ways, and these are the ones that are spread far and wide because Shaitan is the driving force behind it. He's funding it, like Shaitan and his minions. And right, so I know as well. I've met so many people. They don't realize that we are following Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And what is Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Alhamdulillah, today, well, right, what is Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Who are the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? And that's why we learn Aqidah. Right, so it is clear in our minds who are the people out there. MashaAllah, recently I was listening to some lecture on mantiq, on logic, because I was trying to just expand my knowledge on logic. So I was listening to a few mashayikh online. And I found this one sheikh who was, mashallah, you can't tell what is their background or what is their aqidah. Usually I keep to the people that I know. I don't actually go beyond the people that I know, like the Habai, the mashayikh of Syria and so on and from Basir. I keep the people that I know. But for some reason, this person that I assumed that he was Syrian, but he was not Syrian eventually. He was actually from Kuwait, right? And when I was listening to him, he was okay because he was teaching, logic. But towards the end of his classes, he began to use the logic that he was teaching against the Ash'ari, and we are Ash'ari, right? So the Ash'ari Aqidah. He began to use the logic that he was teaching against Ash'ari Aqidah. Then I was like, wait, he's talking against the Ash'ari. he was actually a Wahhabi, this guy. Right, so he was, so-called debunking the Ash'ari school of thought. Right, so I stopped listening to him completely because there's no barakah in there. And I stuck to Sheikh. I think I was one of the Mashaykh of Syria. That they're very good at their mantiq. Right? So I was listening to them as well. Right, so anyway, but that's the thing. If you have no knowledge, you'll be confused. That you be confused as to what's going on out there and what they're saying. And subhanAllah, I met people who like they will say things like, this matter or this so-called ruling or this whatever, they will say, it's not in the Quran. Where in the Quran does it say, and it's as if they think it every single thing is spelled out in the Quran. Have you not studied? The Quran does not spell out every single thing. The Quran points to things. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrates every single thing to us. So Subhanallah, people, they're like, it's not in the Quran, it's not in the Quran. A lot of things are not spelled out in the Quran. They are pointed to, yes, but not spelled out. Like, as in, like even your five prayers, your number of rak'ahs for prayer. Where in the Quran do you find it, huh? Like, where? Subuh, 2 rak'ahs, Zuhur, 4 rak'ahs, Asar, 4 rak'ahs. Where? Where in the Quran? It's not in the Quran. It's not there. It's with our prophets, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But ignorance, ya Allah, ignorance to study. I study. It is compulsory on every believer to study. And on the day of judgment, they have no excuse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has caused in our zaman that knowledge has come online and people can access knowledge wherever, whenever. It's not even now it is even recorded that you can access it anytime. Subhanallah. The people of our zaman have no excuse in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have no excuse in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala why they have not studied. If they are too busy, then they have every ability to make themselves not busy. They have every ability. Right, subhanallah. So there's no excuse there for people who refuse to study Islamic knowledge. So he says here, so the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, pay attention, is very important. This entire section is very important for you all to understand. You know, this for me, right, for this class, this Aqidah class, I am just keeping to the text because the text is very heavy. There's a lot of stuff in this text. And I hope to finish it. Again, I'm supposed to have cover half the book. I hope to finish it. So I'm not going into like other matters. I'm trying to not let myself do that. Because the text itself is a lot of content itself. So I'm just going straight into the text. I didn't even do any introduction with you all. I didn't do the Mabadi because I know you've done it before. It's all in the Aqidatul Awam book. So I kind of like left you all because we have done all the things before. I want to get into the text for us to explain for us to understand what is in the text because it is a heavy text. Okay? It is a heavy text. اعلم أن مذهب الأشاعرة في الاعتقاد هو ما كان عليه جماهير أمة الإسلام وعلماؤه وعلماؤها ودهماؤها. Like, so understand, this is the thing about it. When I was talking with the guy who was using logic against, the Asha'ira, we are Asha'ira, against the Asha'ira, the Ash'ari madhab, and we explain who are the Ash'ari. And inshallah, if you all, yeah, actually, we all do homework, go and find out about Imam Ash'ari. Okay, go and read up about Imam Ash'ari. He has an amazing story. I think it's here, actually. I think his story is here. Because he was of the Mu'tazila. And we're gonna explain who are the Mu'tazila. Then he said his story is here, correct? Story is here. Okay, man. Okay, but you're going to do your research first, and then probably tomorrow I'll go to Surah Mashari, right? Because his story is an amazing story. He was of the Mu'tazila, and the Mu'tazila had issues with the Aqidah, that very wrong, Aqidah. Actually, get easier, more fun homework, right? Can you all pull out clips? There is this movie, the Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, because Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he faced the Mu'tazila, and he actually faced the evil that came from them, right? And you see, every single wrong aqidah, they aim to they aim to take over some political power. You will see this over and over and over and over again. Every single wrong aqidah, right? They have one goal: take over politics. You see it in all the wrong aqidas. They have one goal. They wanna be in charge, right? And they take and they're seeking riyasa. They are seeking, power, right? And so Jama'ah, we never cared to seek power, right? Because it's true. When you're on truth, you don't care to assert your ideology using politics. But when you're not true, when you're false, and you want to assert your ideology, what is the best way to do it? Get control of the Khalifa, get control of those who are in charge, and force people on that ideology. That is exactly what the Khawarij did, what the Mu'tazila did, even what the Shia did. And they all did the same thing. They went right to government and they tried to control even the Wahhabis. I will say the Wahhabis. The Wahhabis went right to the heart of Islam, Mecca and Medina, right? And they tried to control and to brainwash people from the center of Islam. That is exactly what they did. And that is all not even from the Muslims, it was from the Jews. It was the Jews who implanted all of these things. If you all studied, if you don't take the how that, right, you will know where the entire ideology of the Wahhabis come from. It was the Yahud. They brought it in to destroy the Muslims by what? Break us apart and destroying our practices in Islam. Destroying, and so people are so confused right now because so much, so much of what they of what they preach, they have spread on the internet because they have money. They have money and they've spread it on the internet. So as a Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we need to kind of, be louder and do more work. Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah, yeah, we're there, we're kind of there. Right, but we still need to do a lot more work as compared to what the other ideologies have been doing. The other ideologies, they're very, very good at, marketing. Very good at marketing. So a lot of people are confused right now because they're hearing all the other ideologies. Okay, so the Asha'ira is the Aqidah and is the Aqidah of the majority of the people of Islam, all the way from the Sahaba. Okay, that is the same Aqidah, and the Aqidah of the Asha'ira. And that um, and إذ المنتسبون إليهم هم السالكون طريقهم كانوا أئمة أهل العلوم القاطبة على ممر الأيام والسنين، وهم أئمة علم التوحيد والكلام والتفسير والقراءة والفقه والأصول والحديث وفنونه والتصوف واللغة والتاريخ. Right? So the great imams of the past, of the great sciences of Islam, all of them were Asha'ira. I do Ash'ari on the Ash'ari madhab. There is a madhab that we are on. The madhab I was mentioning just now. I want you all to extract, like if you can extract clips from the from the movie, because I mean, make it easy for you all on your research. Otherwise, you have to open up like big books and then read up stuff. You can just read a movie, right? From the story of Ahab bin Hanbal, it's quite accurate, mashallah. Parts of it that are made up, okay, but parts of it accurate. The entire part about the Mu'tazila, the part is accurate. So pull out that there was a scene where the Mu'tazila, they had a session with Imam Shafi'i. There's a scene, okay, and they presented, their arguments to Imam Shafi'i, all of which Imam Shafi'i very easily, very casually debunked. So easily he just debunked them like that. So I would like that you pull out the scene between Imam Shafi'i and the Mu'tazila, and how Imam Shafi'i so easily debunked like the Aqidah, their wrong Aqidah on them. And how Imam Shafi'i so easily debunked the wrong Aqidah. Then there was another scene where Imam Ahmad was brought into the court, right, of the Khalifa, and also put to debate with the Mu'tazila. At this point in time, the Mu'tazila had already conquered the court of the Khalifa, and they had convinced the Khalifa that they were correct, and they had convinced the Khalifa to force all the ulama on their ideology. And that in itself is proof that their ideology is wrong. If you have to force ulama to agree with you, that itself is proof that you're wrong. Because if you were right, people will come and flock to you by themselves. Like Islam. Like Islam. Rasulullah never had to go around forcing people on Islam. He didn't have to force them because what is truth will prevail. And people will come to the truth, without you forcing them. Subhanallah. Right. So anyway, go and find the clips and if you can transcribe it, right, write down the mas'ala. So for example, they say, the mas'ala on the biggest thing about the Mu'tazila, right? The biggest problem is not exactly that they say because the Quran is created. That's a side issue. It is wrong as well. Like they say the Quran is created, it's wrong. The Quran is uncreated, is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the biggest issue about them is that they say we create our own action. And that was the biggest fault about them, right? That they say that we human beings, we create our own actions. Allah does not create our actions. We create our actions. That is kufr. I can't say that. I can't say it because that is describing power to the human being. That is the biggest thing about the Mu'tazila. But inshallah, I will go into that inshallah. Okay. So and you know what, the fitna of the Mu'tazila, the reason why we keep speaking about it is because it would re-emerge. It has re-emerged. The Wahhabis are on it. It has reemerged. So the Wahhabis are trying to revive a few things that the Mu'tazila has said. In fact, Shaitan, Shaitan is not very, he's not very creative, like Shaitan. He plays the same trick over and over again over generations. Same lousy trick. Right? And the human beings keep falling for the same trick of shaitan. Right? So over the generation of human beings, he has been doing the same thing. Shaitan. Okay, so annoying. Right, but he's the same trick that he plays. So by his different names, in the past he began to call them Khawarij, and then they were called the Mu'tazila. Then in our zaman, they're the Wahhabis. Right? The same thing. They give jism to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say Allah has a physical form. They say Allah is physically on his throne. They say all kinds of things are blasphemous against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's a problem. Okay, there's the biggest problem. Wrong aqidah. So these are people who go on the path of the Imams of knowledge, right? Of the great Imams, of Islam, like of the knowledge of tafsir and of Tawheed and tafsir and Quran and fiqh and usul and hadith and so on. And قال الشيخ الإسلام التاج السبكي هؤلاء الحنفية والشافعية والمالكية وفضلاء الحنابلة. Right? So all of these people from the four madhab, they're all Ash'ari. Like Ash'ari, same thing. You might have heard the Aqidah of the Maturidi, the Aqidah of the Tahawi. They're all similar. Okay, they're all similar. They're all on the same. They're all very similar in the Aqidah, only very slight difference. Like here and there in some mas'ala, la yadur. It does not harm the Aqidah itself. Okay, wallahu wa lillahi alhamd. في العقائد يد واحدة. So they're all on one aqidah. Right, كلهم على رأي أهل السنة والجماعة. So the entire, like you said, the aqidah of al-Ash'ariyah, al-Maturidiyah, Tahawi, they all under the entire banner called Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they are called Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, right, because they take the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Hadith, because there are groups and they even exist till today. They are around there, they're around, right? Who they're called Inkar Sunnah. Inkar Sunnah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. They disbelieve in hadith completely. Every single hadith is disbelieved in. And they say only Quran is correct, only Quran is protected. But to disbelieve hadith is to undermine Quran. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, O believers, obey Allah and His Prophet. In the Quran, Allah wa Rasul. Obey Allah and His Prophet. How are you going to obey His Prophet if every single hadith is false? Then you just disbelieve in the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you undermined it. That did Allah say something that was useless? When Allah says obey the Prophet, what does that mean if his words are all going to be false? Then how are you going to obey him? Then does it make Allah supposed to be empty with no meaning? Does it make sense, right? But these people, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The day I shared one video. No, I mentioned it in my classes, and then one of there's our students went to see the video, and right in the comments, what was the video about? I forgot. Oh, it was about sleeping after time, right? One of the people online, Wahhabi, one of the Wahhabi people online, he was just saying no such thing as cannot after Asar and whatever. No, 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 don't listen to this kind of people. But he was saying these kind of things, and right in the comments itself, someone said, "Here is no, no." The comment was what? The comment was oh, wisdom is in only believing the Quran and not taking anything from the Hadith. That's just foolishness. Foolishness. Ya Allah, foolishness. Because when they do that, they end up what? Not praying. Because where does prayer come from? Hadith. Right? How to pray? Where? From Hadith. Even a lot of the laws of our fasting and our zakat, from where? Hadith. It's not from the Quran. So Ahlul Sunnah, because Quran is the basis, right? Quran, all believers will hold onto the Quran. If you can't hold onto the Quran, then khalas, there is no talk at this point in time. A person who doesn't hold on the Quran, they cannot be counted as a believer. You must believe in the Quran. Then comes the first split of people who say, you know what, we reject all hadith narrations. And that's wrong. This is wrong. That is to re- and that is also foolish because the very same people who compile Quran, they are the ones who compile hadith. The very same generation of human beings who passed down the Quran, they were the same human beings who passed down the Hadith, the Sahaba. So the Sahaba were the ones who passed down the Quran and compiled it. They're the same people who passed down Hadith, same people. Right? So why believe in one thing that they said and disbelieve in the other? Subhanallah, and it is also it is also an attack against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah allowed for the words of the last prophet to be lost just like that. So the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of humanity depend on him. So the rejection, we all depend on Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If all his words are to be lost, then that would actually mean Allah is unfair. And wahasha lillah. Not possible for Allah to be unfair. Right? So see, these people are not thinking. They're not thinking. If there is no hadith for us to hold on to today, that would directly undermine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's justice and fairness. Right? That he's the last prophet, no prophets after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then there are all these generations that come after his death. Then what? For us to be completely lost, nobody to hold on to, don't know what's going on. No, of course not. Right? But the hadith collections are preserved for our sake, really, really for our sake, and for those who come after us. So this is the first split amongst in the ummah of people who reject hadith. Right? They do not want to go on hadith. So Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Wal Jama'ah here refers to the Imams, to the Imams of the Ummah. Okay, wal Jama'ah refers to the Imams of the Ummah. Meaning, Al Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we are led, of course, by Quran, by Hadith. Yes. And then by Jama'ah, meaning by the opinions of the rightly guided scholars in the Ummah. Meaning, we don't use our own heads to figure things out unless you are a scholar in your own right. That is our madhab. That is our manhaj. That is our way. Al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That we don't say, oh, you know what, I'm going to read hadith and read Quran by myself. And I'm going to figure out what is right, what is wrong. Because I heard your question, someone asked a question about people saying, oh, I follow the strongest opinion from every madhab. How do you know, oh scholar? Oh, you're such a scholar that you know the strongest opinion. Oh, mashallah, tabarakallah. Subhanallah. I would even say that I know the strongest opinion of the Shafi'i madhab. I won't even know that. I mean, subhanallah. And if really you have reached a level that you know the strongest opinion of every madhab and you know the mechanics behind these opinions, you are a mujtahid in your own right. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You are a mujtahid, which means that you are someone who can derive ruling in your own right. You are a scholar, Imam Shafi'i, to be able to do that. I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. If you have studied, usul al-fiqh, it takes a lot, of knowledge, memorization, skill, ability, even, logic and intellect. It takes a lot, right, to be able to weigh many different hadiths in Quran to know what is correct and what to go on, what is a ruling and what isn't. It's not as simple as hearing one hadith to a khalas, I'm going to follow that one. No. Right, Imam Shafi'i, he devised an entire system of how to compare hadith and Quran and to derive ruling. He's the first one to do it. The other Imams were doing it, yes, but Imam Shafi'i was the first one to pen it down. He put down the principles of usul fiqh. And people of our zaman, they have no clue what they're talking about. They have no clue what they're talking about. And they're just copying people online. It is sad, lah. It is sad. I know they're not trying to do it on purpose, but they're influenced by people. Right? So if you come for classes, you get clarity. Right? So Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we follow Jama'ah. Okay, follow Jama'ah, that means we follow the majority and we follow the scholars. Right? The scholars, the four madhabs. Um, ويدين ويدينون ويدين الله تعالى بطريق الشيخ السنة بالحسن الأشعري. This is the Ash'ariyah come from Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari رحمه تعالى. ولا يحيد عنها إلا رعاء من الحنفية والشافعية لحقوا بأهل الاعتزال ورعاء من أهل الحنابلة لحقوا بأهل التجسم وبرأ الله المالكية فلم نرى مالكيا إلا أشعري إلا أشعريا. No, mashallah. So I mean, he's just saying here that the majority of the scholars of the Shafi and the Hanafi, right? They are Ash'ari, except a few of them. There were a few of them who were Mu'tazila. They followed Mu'tazila. And with regards to the Hanbali madhab, majority of them followed the Ash'ari, except a few of them they followed the Ahl Tajassum. The Ahl Tajassum, they are the people who actually believe that Allah has form. And that is wrong. So there were of the Hanabila, of the Hanbali madhab, small amount of scholars, of their madhab who held on to this wrong aqidah. Then there were of the small few of groups of people in Hanafi madhab who held on to Mu'tazila and the Malikiya, mashallah, none of them. The Malikiya they were clean. All of them were on the Ash'ari madhab, the Ash'ari school of thought of aqidah. Now, okay, تمام. So all the مراجع تمام. So نعم الأشعريا عقيدة وبالجملة فعقيدة الأشعرية. So now this is important. What is the عقيدة of the أشعري? The عقيدة الأشعرية. Just 5 more minutes. Yeah. So are you following me? I know it's heavy. I know it's heavy. That's why I said pay attention. Pay attention. Yes. Is it called the Imam? Yeah, okay, this kind of TV series, right? There are parts in there that are true. There are parts in there that are made up. Because necessarily, right, if you want to make a movie, it's very hard to make a movie on something that is purely true. It becomes a documentary. Documentary is something that's very purely true. Somewhat. Right? But a movie has to be exciting. There has to be a storyline, plots, like to gain the attention of the one who's watching, right? The viewers. Right. So necessarily movies will have components that are untrue, just to have the story to flow and to be more exciting, right? But there are components that are true, that are based, on history, and the entire setting between Imam Shafi'i and the Mu'tazila. There was a true incident that happened, and they faced off with Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Shafi'i so easily debunked every single thing. And that is the entire thing about a scholar. No, they can't be deluded. They can't, because they're scholars. They have knowledge, right? Shaitan loves the ignoramus. In it, Imam Ahmad, same thing. So this Mu'tazila, they could go around and convince people on their madhab, and people were just dumbfounded, not knowing how to answer them. When they began bringing forward their fitna, people were like, "Oh yeah, they make sense. Oh yeah, they make sense." They only make sense with those who have no knowledge as well. Same thing with the Wahhabis, and I'll be very very blunt and sarahatan. The Wahhabis, honestly, they only make sense to those who have no knowledge. So when they go around saying, "Oh, you can't do what the Prophet never did. You can't do what the Prophet never did." Where? Where in our Sharia is that said? Where? Come, tell me. Are there examples of the Sahaba doing things that Rasul never did? Yes, plenty of examples. Are there examples of them doing something from themselves in front of the Prophet? Yes, there are. Did Rasul stop them? No, unless it was actually wrong. Then he would correct them. Did he allow for them to just want to do stuff by themselves? Yes. Yes, there was a man who was unable to go to the masjid, and he made a musalla in his house. Bid'ah, right? Make musalla in your house. And then he called Rasulullah, "Ya Rasulullah, I have difficulty going to the masjid. There's a river between my house and the masjid. So I made my own musalla to just pray in my house. Can you come to my house and pray to the there?" And Rasulullah said, "Marhaba." And he came with his companions, and they prayed 2 raka'ats. There is a sunat mutlaq. There is just a sunnah, right? He prayed 2 raka'ats there with his companions, and they sat, and the men served them some food. He doesn't say, "Oh, who gave you this permission to do a musalla in your house?" No, and the man, he invented. Yes, he invented. Nothing wrong with that. He was in line with the Sharia. Nothing wrong with that. The Sharia is not that. It's not rigid in that way. The Sharia gives principles. Stay within the principles, you're fine. Right? But you see, the Wahhabis is so convincing in their argument. Those with no knowledge, they get sold very easily. Same thing with the Mu'tazila. They were so incredibly convincing in their arguments. Those who have no knowledge were dragged in. But those with knowledge, they were just like poof at these arguments, and it all becomes scattered dust. You see, like Imam Shafi, he just they give all his arguments, and you're like, wow, mashallah. I mean, you're like, wow, their arguments are strong. And you hear Imam Shafi's answer, and you realize their arguments are just dust. Once you hear what Imam Shafi says, right, and his answer is very clear. Mashallah, that's the thing about knowledge. It is it is power, it is strength in knowledge. So who are the Ash'ari? One more minute. Who are the Ash'ari? هي ما تضمنته عقيدة أبي جعفر الطحاوي. So you know the Tahawi Ja'far. So the Tahawi Aqidah, you may have heard of it. I actually studied Tahawi Aqidah long time ago from Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. A long time ago, I went through his course on the Tahawi Aqidah. It's similar to the Ash'ari. التي تتلقاها علماء المذاهب بالقبول ورضوها عقيدة. So it is accepted عقيدة in أهل السنة والجماعة. Then you have Imam Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. Allah Akbar. Then you have Imam Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, right? Rahimahullah ta'ala. His story is an amazing story because he was trained to be of the ulama of the Mu'tazilah. His whole family was strong ulama of Mu'tazila, and he was trained with a lot of hope in him to raise their wrong aqidah. But he was so smart that he broke down what he was trained on. So he was like, so the best people to debunk something are the people who were in it. They know exactly what it's about. Right, so he was the one that he was trained to be an ulama of the Mu'tazila, and he came out to be someone to completely crush it. He actually crushed everything of it. Imam al-Ash'ari رحمه تعالى ومن تبعه لم يبدعوا من الاعتقاد ما لم يكن فضلا عن ادعائهم مخالفتهم لما كان بل هم نصار الشريعة وحماة العقيدة قرروا المباعث والمسائل ونصبوا الحجج ودلائل ووظيفوا ما قد يرد عليه من الشبه وبينوا ما خفي من المعتقد أو واشتبه المستعدين لذلك كله بما يصح من المنقول ومن نور ما وهبهم بارئهم من العقول دون الإفراط ولا تفريط. قال الإمام التاج السبكي اعلم أن أبا الحسن لم يدع رأيا ولم ينشئ مذهبا إنما هو مقرر لمذاهب السلف مناضل عما كان عليه صحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So here is a very important statement. So basically, these people, right, who they formulated. So see, they formulated the madhab of what we're on the Ash'ari. It's not new, and it cannot be new. It cannot be new. It has to be from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Everything we have in Islam cannot be new. It cannot be new. It's not possible because if it's new, that in and of itself is proof that it is wrong. Okay, so aqidah cannot be new. Aqidah is qadim. Aqidah is Allah. Allah is the topic of discussion in aqidah, and Allah is qadim, and Allah has no beginning to Him. Subhanahu wa taala. Truth has no beginning. Right? Truth is truth. Wa khalas. Right. So the all statements, right? It was mentioning about how all of the scholars of the past, right? They came onto this understanding of the Ash'ari Aqidah. Imam At-Taj as-Subki, he said that no, that Imam Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari he did not have his he did not invent a new opinion, nor did he invent a new madhab. All he did was that he agreed to the madhab of the people of the past, the scholars of the past, in that he he brought it together, right? He wrote it down together and put down principles, and it was what the Sahaba were on. Okay, so nothing new, but it was formulated. This is it was arranged. Something like now in Big Tahawulat, Habib Abu Bakr, nothing new, nothing new, but he just arranged it. He's arranging it to make it easily accessible and steady. There's the whole thing. Because if it's not arranged, it's easily confused. Same thing with fiqh, same thing with aqidah, same thing. All this is the same thing. It has to be arranged by our scholars, so we have clarity as to what do we believe and what we don't believe. Understand that? Eh? Right, so it is the whole statement here is about that it is from the Sahaba. Right, it's from the Sahaba. Right, so it's not something new, but it's from the Sahaba. Right, just get down to the this screenshot the entire thing lah. Okay, so the whole thing right, of the great imams, right, who have mentioned that these two imams, Abu Hassan and Abu Mansur, Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, right, they are the imams of the Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they are the ones who actually they follow the way of the people of the past. They bring us back all the way to the way of the Sahaba in their understanding of Aqidah. Tamam. Repeated statements. Naam. It's all books that you can refer to and so on and so forth. Okay. Right. So here comes the tarjama, or the biography of Imam Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. Right. So we can, inshallah, you can read up about him online. I think don't do online. I have no idea what's online in the English language. So scared you'll go online, you'll find all kinds of lies about Imam Abu Hassan. Um, yeah, lah. It's very hard to do self research. You need to know your sources because he is being slandered online. There are of the madhabs of today that are slandering him. Right, so I will say inshallah tomorrow is read through the notes, inshallah. Okay, are you all any questions? Mm. Any questions? Mm-hmm. No questions. Okay, barakallahu fikum. Studying Aqidah is important because a lot of texts are in Aqidah, especially in our zaman. Right, so make sure you understand Aqidah well. Understand Aqidah well. You're in proper study. The Dawra is one thing with Dawra. It is very proper book study. Right. So it's not like something here by the side kind of thing. No, but it's something that's proper book study. So if you don't understand certain things that I mentioned, make me repeat it. I make me explain to you again. Okay? Because it is crucial that you understand these things. The Dawra does bring you to a higher level of study. Because the whole point of Dawra is that Habib Omar, he sees that most people, they can't commit years of their lives to Islamic study. And it takes a lot, I can tell you. I've been on this for how many years already, since 2011, being overseas and studying and studying and studying. It takes a lot. It does take a lot. It's not for, it's, I mean, something that not everybody can do, right? And Habib Omar, he recognized that. So he did this Dawra 40 days for people to get their portion of this kind of study that you will not come across, unless you actually go into proper study. And then you actually go into all this mas'ala and you think of all these issues, and you realize it's a lot more, right, to know about our religion than what we think. Okay. The Aqidah in our local madrasa is Ash'ari. It's Ash'ari. Like, most of it, I hope so. I know the Wahhabis have infiltrated into our systems. They have. I know of specific madrasas in Singapore, or even our weekend schools in Singapore, that they are not Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They are not Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And so even, Surah Mardiya, because we were doing the Quran halaqah, right? And then we were just discussing with ourselves, discussing that, what if people can't make it with the halaqah? What should we do? Then, there was a suggestion that we just link them to other teachers, or other centers they can learn the Quran. Then my cousin, she texted me that privately, she said that she actually refrains from doing that because she don't know what is their aqidah, because it has spread in Singapore a wrong aqidah. So she only will recommend teachers that she knows their aqidah. Yeah, so she told me not to do that because we don't know if the centers is their aqidah. We don't know. So while they teach Quran, yes, they will teach the aqidah. They will mention the aqidah as well. It is intrinsic in a teacher. Their manhaj is intrinsic. That is why you're not just go out there and just apply for any course without knowing who is the one who's doing and what is their manhaj. Right? Like for me, you must check what is the manhaj of the teacher. That's why I make it. For myself, I make it known that we are, following Habib Omar. Right? So we are, of the Shafi'i. We are of this, this is manhaj. Okay. And Salafi Wahhabi, they are similar. The Salafis are even more, you know, they are more. I don't know what word to use. They are more shadid, yani. They're not mild, they're mild. They're worse. They're worse. They're actually worse. Yeah, they're way out. They're worse. Right. But don't confuse the word Salafi with the real Salaf. The real Salaf are the true scholars of Islam that are from the past, from the Tabi'in, they call the Salaf, right? But the Salafi have hijacked that term for themselves. تمام. اوكي بارك الله فيكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحه ان الله يرزقنا منافع واعمالا خاصه ودلنا الهدى يسر به قبل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وارواح معاني من مشايخنا وذوي الحكم علينا واذا حضره النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الفاتحه. Just occurred to me that from now on I'm going to make myself take Aqidatul Islam. I used to, you know, allow for other teachers to take it, but I think from now on I will hold on to this subject because it does take a lot to explain the parts of it. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi